America finds itself in the throes of a 10th Avenue freeze-out thanks to China. But former presidential candidate Ron Paul is the big man to join the band and make sense of it all. Hillary Clinton can no longer keep hiding on the back streets, as even her fellow Dems say it's time for her to realize she can no longer blame it on the truth that ran us down. Republican presidential candidate Ted Cruz continues fighting his way through the GOP jungle land and joins us one-on-one for his exclusive take on anchor babies and his first day in office as POTUS. 40 years from the debut of a legendary rock and roll album, From the Boss, and telling it like it is, hammers away at stupid athletes and their coaches because there is no place left to hide. Tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2015.
What the global stock markets are doing and have been doing for this past month is repricing a growth in China that is less than it had been. We were told by the Chinese we could anticipate a 7% GDP. We're probably more likely half that. So when you cut a GDP in half, the rest of the market is going to adjust.
Yesterday at this time, there were masses stuffing money under their mattresses in the fear this was the big one economically, and the crash was about to hit. Tonight, there are plenty of monetary marvels telling us remain calm, all is well. And the Wall Street dump on Monday was just a pot shaker and nothing more. Our first guest tonight has been sounding the warning bells on the potential for just such a nightmare. And you better believe he's not buying those people who say, oh, it's just a minor glitch. He's a former Republican congressman, two-time GOP presidential candidate, doctor, author, and, of course, the father of Rand and 4 more children. Welcome, Ron Paul, back into the Hardline. Dr. Paul, always a pleasure to have you on the show. And you knew that when this happened, we were going to call on you right away because you have said in the past that the crash is coming. It will be infinitely worse than the crisis of 2008. So, is what happened Monday a beginning of what you foresee, or was it simply just another day on Wall Street?
Well, yeah, not everybody calls. You call because you want to try to get to the bottom of it, so I appreciate you calling. But no, I don't think this tells us what's going to happen in the future, other than the fact that it's the warning sign. And from an Austrian economic viewpoint, we know when bubbles are formed, we don't know when they burst, and we don't know what extent the government will react and how long it'll last. But we do know when the bubbles are there. Our Federal Reserve Board chairman on numerous occasions have told us and the nation, well, we don't know a bubble's there until it bursts. That is not true. You know it's there because the Federal Reserve creates the bubbles, and many times on purpose. They go from NASDAQ bubbles to housing bubbles to whatever they need to bail out the economy. So these bubbles are very, very clear, and we're seeing it bursting. The best thing in the world would be is to allow the market to make the adjustment and allow the liquidation of debt and the prices get back to normal. But no, we bail everybody out, and it's temporary. But eventually the big one comes, and they can't stop it, and we may well be entering that phase.
We have been sitting here now for months, and the Fed has been saying, we'll think about it, we'll talk about it, we'll consider it with regard to the entire prime rate, and we still don't have an answer. In your opinion, how much of what happened on Monday falls squarely of fault on the shoulders of the Fed?
About 99%, then the Congress for being negligent and overtaxing and overregulating. But the distortion in the economy comes from price fixing the price of money. Socialism fails always because you have wage and price controls. But we in the West have control of the economy and economic planning by pricing money. So one half of the economy, which is the money, is fixed. So you have currency transactions and currency competition, and then you have the supply of money and interest rates. And it's a gross distortion because people have been fooled into thinking there's savings. There are no savings. What there is just credit created by the bank, and all we have is debt accumulated, so it's distorting. It distorts everything. So it's not just the NASDAQ this time, it's all of it. And I still am very concerned about the gross distortion with the bond market because it's been going on since the early 1980s, and we're still at 0%. But eventually the people will reject this, and already you see some companies and debt like in Greece and some of our own municipalities turn sovereign debt, government debt, into junk. And that eventually will happen. Now, that will be the big one, and then we will lose the status maybe at the same time as the reserve currency of the world. And that will play havoc not only with us and with China. This idea that we just, China caused all this. No, it's the manipulation of the reserve currency of the world, where we had tremendous benefits for dozens and dozens of years, and this is just a hint that there's disequilibrium there, and the market is demanding a correction. Get rid of the malinvestment and get rid of the debt.
Now, you just mentioned China. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest says there is no denying that the global economy is more connected than ever before, but he says that Americans should maintain focus on the financial situation here at home. Here's what he said.
What I would encourage people to evaluate is the ongoing strength and resilience of the U.S. economy. U.S. businesses over the last 65 consecutive months have added 13 million jobs. That's the longest sustained private sector job growth streak in American history.
All right, Dr. Paul, I get it. We have to focus on what's happening here at home. You've said it, others have said it, we all understand it. But we are hearing one side say, absolutely. You mentioned China a moment ago. They said this is all because of what happened in China. It's just downhill and it's hitting us right in the head. Others say, wait a minute, China's not even involved in this. It's stupid to even think that. Please, what's the truth?
Well, the truth is the United States has the biggest responsibility because we issue the currency, we export our inflation, and we cause these bubbles to be formed. And we have tremendous benefits because we get to print the gold. And we produce the credit and the money, and we spend overseas. So the Chinese they do us a great favor. They sell us cheap goods. Our cost of living goes down. The inflation goes to China. They monetize that debt instead of us, and then they welcome the idea of loaning it back to us, and they loan it back and buy treasury bills of $1.3 trillion. So China really serves our interest. This idea that cut off China and solve the problem and have their president have a hamburger sandwich and send them on home to go to work, that is so silly. Now they're calling for protectionism and tariffs and all these things, and it's all because of the inability to understand what's going on with the currencies of the world. They're in a currency fight. We're in a battle of competitive devaluations as well as protectionism. It's not good for the economy. Matter of fact, it's not good for the geopolitics of the whole world.
All right, now I got about 90 seconds left, and you alluded a little bit there with the hamburger and everything else to Donald Trump, because he's the one who has just hammered away at China and said, I wouldn't have him for a state dinner. I'll give him a cheeseburger and I'll send him on the way. He has hammered away at China every chance he gets. So, in your opinion, what you just said, what your experience is, does it tell us that those people who believe that a businessman is the right guy to become president simply because of what he's done on Wall Street with his hotels and such, that is simply the wrong way of thinking?
Well, not just because he's in Wall Street. They're capable of being in Wall Street and coming out, unscathed. But from his rhetoric, I would say that he doesn't have the vaguest idea how the economy works. The only one thing that he did when he got in trouble, he did know how to use the bankruptcy laws. But he can't regulate and run the economy. That's the problem. We have presidents and Congress and Federal Reserve who want to run the economy. The people and the business people and the consumers have to run the economy, not the government and not the central bank. So it's economic planning, central planning by our Federal Reserve and other central banks in the world that believe they can manage this. And somebody like Mr. Trump, he's just, playing on this because the people are lost. Why did we get in this trouble? We need a strong man to come in here and take charge. Well, it'd be taking charge and freeing up the economy and reducing taxes and teaching free market economics and not protectionism and tariffs. It would be okay. But taking charge of delivering us a free market in individuals is quite different than taking charge and I know what's best. I'm going to tell them what to do, and I'm going to tell the president of China this and this, and I'm going to make the Mexicans pay. The people love it because they're lost, and they want somebody to tell them what to do. But that's very dangerous. That has happened many times in history. And when you have that individual come along saying, I know how to do it, let me do it, take charge, I'll give you all the answers, but never spells out exactly what he would do. It's very dangerous.
Oh, Donald Trump is certainly going to love to hear those comments as well. You know that as well. Dr. Paul, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to remind people, don't forget the website, ronpaulinstitute.org. We will absolutely speak to the doctor again. Now, here we go. Poll time. Let's get to it. We've been asking you the last couple of days. Tell us again, do you think that Hillary Clinton broke the law? It's all connected one way or another. We'll talk about this and a whole lot more when we continue. This is the fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hardline.